welcome back to the South Alabama Piper channel. I'm Lance, your host. I'm a little aggravated at the United States Postal Service. I was supposed to have 2 new pipes come in yesterday. They sent my package somewhere else to another post office. It said missent. So now, instead of getting them yesterday like I was supposed to, I guess I'll be getting them tomorrow, but that's okay. So, as I told you in the previous video, I think it was the previous video, I was going to be doing a series on railroads. This is going to be the first video in this series. It's going to be a little introduction to basically the major railroad carriers, the class ones, they call them, the big railroads, if you will. So I thought it only be appropriate to be smoking this for the first video. Casey Jones, Beyond Brave. Isn't that nice artwork? Now, this is the month of May, and I said I was going to be doing all Codger blends for the month of May. So if this is not a Codger blend, slap me on the wrist. It should be. I don't know if it is or not. Y'all let me know if it is or not. If it ain't, I won't smoke it no more this month, okay? I apologize if it ain't. But I've done good this month. I smoked nothing but Codger blends. I haven't smoked every day this month. I just haven't. I haven't had time. But I smoked nothing but Codger blends. This is the first time I've smoked this blend. So, if it's not a Codger blend, let me know. I won't smoke it no more this month. But anyway, I thought it only appropriate for that. Mr. Bill Keats sent me this. I'd never heard of this, so I looked it up, and they got a few other blends. And I'm gonna read this to you real quick. Inside the package, that's what it says right here. It says, Casey Jones, Locomotive Engineer, a tribute to an American legend, Beyond Brave. The railway line has expanded to include an American-style aromatic tobacco. This nutty vanilla blend carries a base of smooth black Cavendish, a bite-free burley, and bright Virginias that burn beautifully in any smoke box. Enjoy the ride. I am enjoying the ride. And I will say, it smokes pretty cool, unless of course you freight train it. I had to throw that in there. So I made some notes here. I wanted to try not to forget anything. So y'all bear with me. Now, first I'm gonna show you a few things. And this isn't all I have. This is just what I could grab right off. I gotta find some of my other stuff that I've acquired over the years. But y'all will probably find that I'm quite partial to a couple of these railroads just because. Okay. It's just a safety vest. I've wore that vest many, many times. It's dirty, it's nasty. Some of y'all younger guys probably have never even heard of this. Telephone Directory, Team BNSF. Nice little artwork. This is from 2002. Okay. Everything and everybody you needed to know was in this back then. All right. And set that down a second. Norfolk Southern Alabama Division from 2003. This is all this basically is, and we'll get into all this in another video. I'm not getting into all this right now. It's basically just a graph of the track layout. All right, the whole book is like this here. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's the whole division. It gives you just milepost, the grade of the track, where the signals are in that spot, every crossing, everything. To go by, but we'll get more in depth. Sorry y'all, I'm having to reach over here. We'll get into that more in depth into that in another video or something. And then, oops. This here is called a reverser. And basically all this is the key to that locomotive. You have to have this to run a locomotive. Some people say drive a locomotive. You don't really drive a train or drive it, you run it. But most people say drive, so anyway, drive the train. So that's what that is. They used to keep these in little slots in a hidden spot on locomotives, but they quit doing that because people that wasn't supposed to be on there started getting on there, messing with them. There's another one. My name's etched in that one. I've had that one for a real long time. That just glows on the end, like at night, just so if you drop it or something, you can find it. This is another one. Got a light on it when it works. That's just a few things. And by the way, while I'm talking about people getting on locomotives that's not supposed to be on there, please, 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 people, please, whatever you do, please stay off the tracks. Don't get on the tracks. Don't get on there to take pictures. I know it makes beautiful pictures. Please don't do it. Just don't do it. Number one, you're trespassing. Number two, you could die. Well, maybe that should be number one. You could die. Number two, you trespass. Okay? Just don't do it. Stay off the tracks. Stay off the tracks, please. You might can hear a locomotive coming, but let me tell you something. If you somewhere where they're shoving cars back, if they're going into a track somewhere to an industry or a business to service that place, let me tell you something. You wouldn't think so, but some of them cars rolling on that track are so quiet, you can't hear them. Ask me how I know. You can't hear them. So please, stay off the tracks. Don't get on the tracks. Just don't do it. Okay? All right, now we got that out of the way. What is a Class 1 railroad? A Class 1 railroad, obviously, well, when I talk about Class 1 railroad, I'm talking about the big railroads, the most railroads that y'all know of, okay? And I'm gonna list them, I'm gonna get into them. But the Association of American Railroads, or the AAR, the way they kind of classify these railroads is by their revenue a year and their railroad miles. You know, the bigger the miles, you know, you're going to be a Class 1. You start stepping down to Class 2 and Class 3 railroads. Anyway, we'll get into that later. That's just a short way to tell you. And as I tell you these railroads, I'm going to try to pop a picture up on the screen just of a locomotive. It's just one I pulled off from somewhere. It's kind of what they look like. And at the end, I'm going to leave a few of these railroads have painted some of their locomotives like it's pretty cool to kind of support first responders and veterans and all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave some of those at the end of the video. But anyway, as I name these off, I'm just going to pop up a picture real quick so you can see kind of what it looks like. So, the first one is the Union Pacific, or UP. Now, in my opinion, they have the best looking locomotive, for good reason, just because of the flag and all that stuff, you know. I'm not partial to them, obviously. I've never had really any affiliation with the UP. They're out kind of more out west. But I've never really had any to do with them. Now, I have run some of, or drove some of their locomotives. I have ran some of their locomotives. They're nice. Each of these companies' locomotives are set up a little bit different on the inside. In the cab, they call it the cab. It's set up a little different in the cab, just the way they want them. And we'll get into that in another video. I'll go over. I'm gonna tell you at the end of this video. I'm gonna tell you kind of my plans for this series. Next, we have the CSX. Now, where does the C come from? The C comes from chassis system. Then we have the S. The S comes from Seaboard. And then we have the X, which is where the chassis and the Seaboard merged, making the CSX. Here's what it looks like. Okay. I'm not going to go into the deep history of the merger of all these railroads, but you get the idea. Next is going to be the Norfolk and Western. And then you have the Southern Railway. They merged, the Norfolk and Western and the Southern Railway merged, which gives you the Norfolk Southern. Here's it. So I'm kind of partial to the NS for good reason. Next you get the Burlington Northern, what used to be the Burlington Northern. Then you had the Santa Fe. Which gave you, when they merged, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, or BNSF. And that's another one I'm pretty partial to. Next you get the one that I don't really know much about at all. You get the Canadian Pacific, or the CP. Now the Canadian Pacific obviously is mostly in Canada. It does come down into North America some. I'm gonna have to do some research and see exactly where that line runs and all that. Then you have the Canadian National, or the CN. Now the CN, I do know, because I've had direct dealings with them. I do know that they come down in the southern part of the states, all the way down to Alabama. And then last but not least, you have the Kansas City Southern, or the KCS. So those are your major Class 1 railroads. Let's review. You have the Union Pacific, or the UP, CSX, Norfolk Southern, NS, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, or the BNSF, Canadian Pacific, which is the CP, Canadian National, CN, Kansas City Southern, or the KCS. There's another one. I don't know that it exists anymore. It probably does, but I've never had any of the Illinois Central, or the IC. I don't know that they still exist. I have to look and see. If they do, well, whether they do or not, I'm gonna put a picture up here. So, that's your major railroad, y'all. My plan is I'm gonna get a list together of kind of how I'm gonna do this series, how I'm gonna do the different videos. I'm kind of gonna go into depth. I might get into a little bit of the history of some of these railroads. I might talk about short line railroads. I'll get into different types of locomotives, how they operate, kind of the interiors, how they're set up. Conductors and engineers, kind of their responsibilities. Might talk about different types of rail cars, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on how long I want to let this series go for. I mean, it could probably go for months and months and months. Just the stuff to talk about. It's a lot. But I don't know everything. I've worked with guys that's been on the railroad for 30 and 40 years, and they'll tell you, you learn something new every day on the railroad. You never know it all. I've worked with some guys that thought they knew it all. They thought they knew it all. I've worked with conductors that ain't been on the job not even a year. And they'd be like, yeah, man, I can't wait to get my engineer license so I can just sit over there all day and ride. Told him, I said, yeah, while you sitting over there sleeping the majority of the trip like you ain't supposed to be doing, I'm over here running this train. The thing about engineers, it's more mental than it is physical work. But we'll get into that in another video. I don't want to start talking about all that, because I'll go way off on the beaten path that I don't need to be. So anyway, that's a little introductory for you. Like I said, I'm gonna get a list together and figure out what I'm gonna talk about next. There's a whole bunch of topics. If there's anything in particular you want to know on a video, leave me a comment and let me know, and I'll try to do a video on that in particular. But I got a lot of stuff I'm gonna talk about, so. Y'all, let's be the reason somebody smiles. We can change the world one after random kindness at a time. It don't cost nothing. Be kind to folks. You should always live today like it's your last. We ain't promised tomorrow. I don't care what nobody tells you. I don't care what they tell you. Tomorrow's not a promise. We ain't promised tomorrow. Today's a blessing. It's a blessing you woke up today. We're not promised tomorrow, y'all. Live every day like it's your last, because it could be your last. You never know. You never, ever, ever know. You're not promised anything, okay? Until next time, just remember, faith, family, freedom, and piping. God bless you.